You're watching All 24 News World News program broadcasting to you live from the capital, Algiers. Up next are tonight's top stories. Trump says a peace deal with Iran is now complete. The announcement came despite an occupation strike on Lebanon. Still, reports say Iran might give up nukes for sanctions relief. Also on our news tonight, more killed and wounded in Lebanon from overnight Zionist occupation strikes. Casualties are rising daily, and now a complaint has been filed with the UN over banned weapons used by the Israeli occupation. And on Western Sahara, Polisario warns against Morocco's propaganda war. Meanwhile, groups launch an international campaign to free Sahrawi detainees, and French organizations back a just Western Sahara solution. Welcome back. Fars news agency confirmed that Tehran had not yet made its final decision on the draft agreement with Washington. Citing a source close to the Iranian negotiating team, it said experts and decision makers in Tehran were conducting a detailed review of the political, legal, and technical aspects of the deal. The source stressed Iran's commitment to safeguarding its national interests, upholding its red lines, and securing the necessary guarantees as the basis of any future decision. The United States and Iran reached a deal to end their war, U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Sunday. President Trump said the Strait of Hormuz would reopen and the U.S. naval blockade would end. The announcement came despite an Israeli occupation strike on Lebanon that drew criticism from both Tehran and Washington. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, for his part, said the agreement will be officially signed in Switzerland on Friday. In a social media post, Trump declared the strait open toll-free, writing, "Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow." Reuters, citing a well-informed source, reported that Qatari negotiators traveled to Tehran on Sunday morning to finalize a deal aimed at ending the war between the United States and Iran. CNN, citing other sources, said the delegation traveled with U.S. coordination to facilitate a peace agreement, adding that Washington and Pakistani leaders had expected to sign a framework deal on Sunday, while Tehran expressed skepticism over the timing. Similarly, Reuters, citing a senior Iranian official, reported Tehran has agreed not to produce or possess nuclear weapons under a draft U.S. memorandum. Washington will let Iran reduce its highly enriched uranium stockpile, details to be worked out in 60 days. The U.S. will also lift or suspend oil sanctions for a set period, let Iran sell oil and keep the money, and release $25 billion in frozen assets via cash and credit lines. The International Atomic Energy Agency said it was ready to play a key role in verifying any potential nuclear agreement between the United States and Iran. The IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi, speaking in Vienna on Sunday, said the agency would seek approval from its Board of Governors to take on the verification process for both sides.
The most important thing in this agency's work is verification, and our participation is a very important formality that is necessary. When they reach an agreement and ask us to take over the verification process, I will need to contact the Board of Governors of the International Atomic Energy Agency and ask for their approval.
Ibrahim Azizi, head of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee in Iran's Majlis, defended a plan to manage the Strait of Hormuz, describing it as a permanent measure comparable to the nationalization of oil. Speaking on the sidelines of a government event on Saturday, he said the draft addressed all issues, including navigation rules and Iran's legitimate rights, adding that if approved, it would become a comprehensive law.
The National Security Committee has prepared this bill, and God willing, it will become law in the future. All issues related to the Strait of Hormuz have been taken into consideration in this draft, including maritime traffic, transit procedures, and the legitimate rights of the Iranian people. By the grace of God, only this bill is enacted. It will become a comprehensive and integrated law, as I mentioned earlier. Just as the nationalization of the oil industry before the revolution was a major milestone in our history, these two represent a significant step in our nation's history.
Azizi called the plan a major national step with lasting impact, saying Iran acts strictly on national interests and not in reaction to threats.
The project to ensure security, development and progress in the Arabian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz will also be a major and lasting national step for the Islamic Republic of Iran, for the Islamic Consultative Assembly, for the government that serves the people. We seek to act in a way that serves national interests and do not respond reactively. From this perspective, our approach is characterized by wisdom and good planning. Therefore, we continue to pursue this matter within the framework of defending the true rights of the people.
A cyber attack disrupted services at 4 major Iranian banks on Saturday. The Coordination Committee of State-Owned Banks said customers faced interruptions in mobile, internet banking, ATMs, point-of-sale systems, and some card services. It added that a technical review confirmed a limited cyber attack with no unauthorized access to customer data and no breach reported. U.S. President Donald Trump told Axios on Sunday that an agreement with Iran would be signed within hours, blaming delays on strikes on Beirut attributed to the Zionist occupation. However, Tehran has not yet confirmed his claims. Marhaba reports now.
Is the Middle East on the verge of a historic peace agreement, or are we witnessing yet another round of diplomatic bluff? Across the Middle East and beyond, the atmosphere is charged with both anticipation and skepticism. US President Donald Trump and mediator Pakistan announced on Saturday that the deal between Tehran and Washington would be signed on Sunday. Iran, however, refrained from confirming a specific timeline. Under the proposed Memorandum of Understanding, Iran would immediately reopen the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping, while the United States would begin lifting its naval blockade of the Iranian ports. As for the thorniest issues, including Iran's nuclear program, frozen assets and sanctions relief, will be left to a 60-day round of technical talks. One of Iran's main conditions for an agreement is stopping the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, which has come under Zionist aggression since the beginning of March. Yet, right after the deal was announced, the Zionist forces attacked Beirut's southern suburbs, triggering a furious reaction from Tehran, which wanted a strong response and declared that fingers are on the trigger. In a Sunday interview with Axios, Trump, on the other hand, maintained that the signing was still on track, but would be delayed by, quote, a few hours due to the Zionist strikes. Against this backdrop and behind closed doors, diplomats are racing to finalize the documents, with Qatari mediators reportedly traveling to Tehran on Sunday, but the situation on the ground remains volatile and the finish line has not yet been crossed.
In Lebanon, Israeli occupation warplanes carried out heavy airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs on Sunday, killing 3 people and injuring 15 others, according to the Lebanese National News Agency. It said 2 missiles hit a residential complex in Ghubairi, causing casualties and damage. Separately, at least 5 others were killed in strikes in southern Lebanon, including 3 in Duwair and 2 in an airstrike on a vehicle in the Tyre district, while 45 people were killed and 149 wounded over the past 48 hours, according to the agency. Beirut has filed a complaint to the UN Security Council and the UN Secretary General, accusing the Israeli occupation of using internationally prohibited chemical weapons in strikes on southern Lebanon. The Lebanese Foreign Ministry also submitted a second complaint, condemning continued Zionist attacks in the south, including strikes targeting the army, and calling for urgent action to stop the violations. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, hopes for an end to the aggression remain high as attention turns to the ongoing Iran-US talks, seen by many as linked to the prospect of the ceasefire. Salman Asib with details now.
Behind the apparent calm in the Lebanese capital Beirut, residents remain on edge. While many are spending this peaceful Sunday morning jogging, relaxing along the seafront, or fishing, concerns about regional tensions are never far away. Many are hoping that a peace agreement between Iran and the United States could help ease tensions and pave the way for greater stability in the region.
نحن بنقول إن شاء الله إنه بيتم الاتفاق
We hope an agreement will be reached, that tensions will ease and that a ceasefire will be established. Even if it lasts only 60 days, it would give people a chance to breathe and recover. Peace is our priority. We hope an agreement between the United States and Iran will also benefit Lebanon because people are exhausted and long for security and stability.
Although any potential agreement will be signed by Iran and the United States, many Lebanese believe it could contribute to a broader de-escalation across the region, including in Lebanon. They hope such a breakthrough could create conditions for a lasting ceasefire and an end to the violence affecting the country, particularly in the south.
Lebanon must not be left out of any regional settlement. We hope that any agreement reached will help bring stability to our country as well. A comprehensive ceasefire across the region would be a positive step for everyone.
Hopes for an end to the conflict remain high among many Lebanese. However, uncertainty persists as diplomatic efforts continue. Meanwhile, hostilities along the Lebanese border have not ceased, and southern areas of the country continue to be affected by ongoing military activity and exchanges of fire.
Still with the Middle East developments now in Gaza Strip, 8 Palestinians, including a child, were killed by occupation strikes across several areas of the Gaza Strip on Sunday, according to the Palestinian Information Center. It said Zionist occupation forces carried out a series of intense raids across the Strip, alongside demolitions near the Tell Zatar in Jabalia in northern Gaza.
My father is gone, my uncle is gone, and my neighbor is gone. 3 of my neighbors are gone. They have no business, and there is nothing in the entire area. We are only a few families living in the entire area, Block 7, Jabalia camp. Why is this happening with us? Let the Jews get away from us, make deals, make solutions for us. We want to live like the rest of the world.
As strikes continue on the Gaza Strip, the humanitarian situation remains dire. With the onset of summer, water is becoming increasingly scarce, deepening the suffering of the population. Karim Sfar reports.
In Gaza, access to clean water has become a daily struggle as the ongoing Zionist aggression have caused extensive damage to the enclave's infrastructure, leaving Palestinians grappling with severe water shortages. For many families here, the arrival of this water tanker is bringing a breath of life. Young and old alike are carrying their jerrycans to collect water, a simple yet precious resource that has become increasingly scarce.
I don't know what to do. We can neither cook nor eat. Our life has become very difficult. We are suffering terribly. Before, we never had to run around looking for water, but now we stay in the street waiting for the water trucks to arrive so we can rush towards them.
The early summer heatwave is making life even harder for Gaza's families. Many are struggling to secure even the minimum amount of water needed for drinking and cooking.
What is currently available in the coastal area through a truck that comes every 2 or 3 days, whether through private initiatives, donations, or aid organizations, but it is nowhere near enough to meet the needs of the displaced population.
According to local authorities and international aid organizations, large parts of Gaza's water infrastructure remain damaged, while efforts to repair essential facilities continue to face major obstacles. As a result, living conditions in displacement camps are worsening, leaving hundreds of thousands of Palestinians struggling to access safe water and other basic necessities.
Palestinian prisoners' rights groups announced the death of a detainee in occupation prison, saying it resulted from torture and medical neglect. They identified him as Ahmad Sarhan, a 47-year-old from Haifa, who died after a heart attack following years of abuse and medical neglect during 25 years of detention. The group said the number of prisoners who have died since 1967 has reached 327. Mustafa al-Bashir, president of the Sahrawi National Council, called for stronger mobilization and vigilance to protect national gains and support the aspirations of the Sahrawi people, warning of what he described as psychological warfare and propaganda by the Moroccan occupation. In a lecture on crime and security risks, he said unity, awareness, and political organization remain the main line of defense against attempts to destabilize society and draw young people into organized crime, including drug trafficking networks. The Association of Friends of the Sahrawi Republic in France has launched an international campaign calling for the release of the Sahrawi political prisoners, including the Qdim group. In an open letter to the human rights organizations, it also urged support for the ongoing open-ended hunger strike by the Sahrawi prisoner Nahma Asfari.
Nahma Asfari took this step after a series of 48-hour hunger strikes carried out during April and May 2026 to demand the implementation of Opinion Number 23/2023 issued by the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, which concluded that the detention of the Qdim detainees was arbitrary and called for their immediate release. However, the Moroccan authorities did not respond to this UN decision despite repeated recommendations issued by various UN human rights mechanisms.
The Association of Friends of the Sahrawi Republic in France reaffirmed support for UN efforts toward a just and lasting solution to the Western Sahara conflict. In an open letter to human rights groups, it said the continued detention of the Qdim detainees raises concerns over Morocco's compliance with the international obligations on civil, political rights, and the Convention Against Torture.
The continued detention of the Qdim detainees, despite the conclusions reached by UN mechanisms, raises serious concerns regarding Morocco's respect for its international obligations, particularly under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Convention Against Torture. The case of the Qdim detainees carries both humanitarian and political dimensions in the context of the Western Sahara conflict. Their release could constitute a confidence-building measure, thereby contributing to supporting the UN's efforts to reach a just and lasting solution to this conflict.
The Spanish Civil Guard announced the seizure of around 5 tons of drugs originating from Morocco in an operation targeting drug trafficking networks bound for Europe. It said the operation began after spotting a high-speed inflatable go-fast boat suspected of transporting drugs by sea, with naval, land, and air units taking part in the pursuit. The Civil Guard added that 32 packages weighing about 1,200 kilograms were recovered, while the remaining shipment was abandoned as the smugglers fled. Mohammed Al-Mahi Ibrahim Niasse, Grand Caliph or Caliph of the Tijaniya Faida in Senegal, praised Algeria's role in serving the Quran, supporting development in Africa, and safeguarding its sovereignty and progress. Speaking at the closing ceremony of the Quranic recitation competitions in Kaolack, he said Algeria's experience in serving the Holy Quran deserves praise and emulation, underscoring the role of its religious and academic institutions in promoting moderation and tolerance across Africa and the wider Islamic world.
Algeria holds a special place in the heart of African Muslims, given its history of struggle and its continued contributions to supporting the causes of the African continent. Today, Algeria stands as one of the key pillars upon which Africa relies to safeguard its independence and sovereignty while advancing development, progress, and prosperity for its peoples.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's government announced 21 new Ebola cases in the past 24 hours alone. In a statement released Saturday, the government confirmed the number of the Ebola cases in the country has risen to 710, including 149 deaths. Geneva is bracing for thousands of protesters ahead of the G7 summit in Evian in France amid a heavy security presence more than 20 years after similar demonstrations in 2003. The No to the G7 coalition, bringing together over 60 associations, unions and left-wing groups, plans to denounce G7 policies and call for an international response ahead of the three-day summit. Tension is rising in Geneva, about 40 kilometers from Evian, with shops, theaters and universities boarding up their premises in anticipation of possible unrest. An Algerian baker in Kansas City in the United States, Ashur Belqasem, is drawing crowds to his shop with a mix of traditional and modern sweets. Customers of all nationalities love his authentic recipes and artistic touch. Sofian Kantouri has the story.
At the center of his shop in Kansas City, the Algerian flag and the jersey of the Desert Warriors stand proudly on display, surrounded by the colors of nations taking part in this year's World Cup. Behind the counters, Ashur Belqasem, a young Algerian entrepreneur, showcases a wide variety of traditional Algerian pastries that he prepares thousands of kilometers away from home in the heart of America's Sunflower State. A phone call comes in with another special order. Within minutes, preparations are underway. Once the pastries are ready, Ashur sets off to make the delivery proudly, wearing the colors of Algeria. His creations have found a place far beyond his shop, displayed at local events and community gatherings. They offer visitors a taste of Algeria's rich culinary heritage and introduce them to traditions passed down through generations.
We moved here to the United States like 8 years ago, and we started this business. It's called Algerian Delights Bakery. We started in 2022. So the reason why we started this is to let people know about our culture. We started the first time like going to farmer markets where all American shop, like it's a local. So we saw that like people really enjoyed them. This gave us a push to open the bakery. We were the first one to start the business here. At the beginning, like we still kept the people coming from that they knew about us from the farmer markets. We have Algerian community as well here.
Major sporting events often spotlight star players, coaches and passionate supporters, but this World Cup has also brought attention to another story, that of a young Algerian pastry maker who is using food to share his country's culture with the world. Through every tray of traditional sweets, Ashur is doing more than running a business. He's preserving a piece of Algeria's identity and bringing the flavors of home to an international audience.
And that wraps up our news program. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.